All right, everybody, ding, ding, ding. I'm back up in this thing. It's Trey Amazing, and it is the first interview for 2025. Happy New Year, everybody. Y'all know what it is. Your favorite part-time stripper, part-time pastor, but full-time dating commentator. And this is Ringside's very own Corner Confessions. Today, I'm here with a very special guest, Black mother, author, and educator, Cole Thomas. Say what's up, everyone.
Hey, what's up? How's everybody doing out there?
Hey, it's 2025, brand new year.
Here we go.
It's so interesting to say 2025. Okay, I gotta readjust it. Right when I'm saying it, I'm like, oh my God, 2025.
Mm-hmm.
So, Cole Thomas, your reputation precedes you, and first and foremost,
that's a good thing.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing, and thank you for being a guest on in Ringside, and
Absolutely.
we're covering a very special topic today, one that's never been covered on my channel,
Okay.
and I think you are the perfect person to cover it. We're talking about LGBTQIA in the Divine Nine, and for those that aren't familiar with Divine Nine, we're talking about 9 historically black fraternities and sororities.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if you don't know by now, y'all need to get your Googles on.
Get your Googles on, and if you're going to also Google LGBTQIA, I'll let you do that too, but lesbian, all right. Figure out the rest on your own.
All right, hey, that's what Google's for. Get your Googles on. So, talking about the Divine Nine, we're talking about Black Greek letter organizations.
Right.
And, for those who don't know, this is the month of January. Out of the Divine Nine, 5 of these historic fraternities, sororities celebrate their founding years in the month of January.
That's right. Yeah.
And so we have you, and you are a member of which organization?
Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated.
And celebrating on which date?
January the 15th. We just had our Founders Day last Wednesday.
All right, y'all are
good timing.
117 years.
117 years.
Okay, newbies, pretty young.
Yeah. We the mothers, though. We still the mothers.
Ooh,
yeah,
no.
We still the mothers.
I heard that. Okay,
Yes.
okay. So, this is a very interesting topic, and I know you have a lot to say, so we're just going to go ahead and delve into it, okay?
Mm-hmm. All right.
And, don't hold back. You know what it is. And so, it's January, which means it's a new year, but also the founding month, like I said, for 5 of the Divine Nine.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen a lot of celebrations over these last couple of weeks. Given that this is a time of celebration for so many Black Greeks, let's talk about the presence of LGBTQIA+, which specifically the acceptance in these illustrious organizations.
Well, let me at least narrow my range by saying that most of my experience has to do with my organization and my experiences within the chapters that I've been a part of. So anything I say about fraternities and other sororities are anything I say about them would be based on my impression and not necessarily firsthand information.
Right. Okay.
All right.
I'm with it. I can dig it. As a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, which, as I stated, celebrated 117 years back January 15th.
Yep.
From your experience, how long have you been a member, and what have been some of your observations, concerning LGBTQI plus membership in Divine Nine?
Okay, I'm going to go all the way back to 1978 when I pledged Zeta Xi Bennett College, before your parents were born, probably. I don't know.
No, before we were
Before
born.
you were born.
Yeah.
As far as I can put the experiences together, I had no way of measuring how the recruitment process went, because at the time that I was recruited into the organization, it had more to do with me having 2 aunts who were AKAs. And by 2 aunts, I mean they sent me to college with green luggage. It was pretty clear what they expected me to do. And so I was not going into the organization going, hey, I'm lesbian, look at me, all the things. Because, all the rest of my life I walk around and I do, no, I don't. I'm kidding. But my first girlfriend was an AKA. Nice. Interestingly, yeah, my first girlfriend was an AKA. We were at a women's college, and it was lovely. Except for the fact that we did not go to sorority meetings and to events talking about being in a relationship, because it was the 70s and we were black girls, and it was our just understanding that a lot of these organizations were closely aligned with people's very strict and narrow religious views. And you'll hear me talk about that later in the interview, that I asked a question in a meeting recently, and it was interesting how quiet the room got. All that said, as long as we weren't walking around holding hands and making it apparent that we were in a relationship, there was no pushback. Now, within the ranks of the girls who kind of knew, there was a little whispering and a little back and forth, but neither of us lost any love or any friends or anything like that. It was when my mother came to her graduation, to the girl, she came to pick me up from college, but it was the girls' graduation, right? And on the way back, going home, there was zero conversation in the car, except for my mom said one ugly thing, and there was no more conversation in the car.
Awkward, kind of awkward.
It was awkward silence, and I'm just, I've decided that one of the things I'm going to do in my life is not repeat insults. That's a new thing, because it just gives it power. But yeah, she said something really ugly, and for 3 hours we didn't talk.
Ooh.
But that, and she was not in a sorority, but that is the mentality that we're dealing with. One of the things that I believe is that a lot of black families, period, whether they are Greek families or not, they are afraid for gay and lesbian and trans and bi folks. They think that your life is going to be miserable, that you're going to be hated, discriminated against, harmed. I understand the fear, but we can't walk in fear as anything. You can be careful, you can be
cautious.
Yeah, you can be cautious, you can be on the swivel, you can understand bigotry, but you can't walk in it. It's not helpful. So that was sort of my walking in. So I walked into being a lesbian with knowingly being a lesbian with another AKA. So I thought that would be an interesting start to this conversation. What else? So you may know, or because I can't remember if I've told you this, but there came a time 15-ish years after that first encounter with Pinky. Her name was Pinky. She was pre-med.
Break it down.
That I stopped talking to women romantically. It's a funny story behind that, but the long and short of it is, I'm like, they don't like me like that. I like them, but they don't like me like that. That's the long and short. I also understood that my family was walking around on eggshells, and I did have one family member who was just over the top with, hellfire and brimstone. We won't deal with him on this interview. But eventually I met a guy that I was really close with. In terms of energetically, not necessarily in the ways you would think. But we made a go of it, and we got married. We had kids, all the things. So when I was in the sororities, in the sorority chapters as a married person, there's, please come in. It was all the, but again, family behaves like that. When you're doing what family wants you to do, and it gives them, there is a certain sense of pride that goes with that. When I tell you, they'll give you anything you want if you're doing, if you are representing in the way that they believe you should be represented.
If you follow the protocol.
Follow the protocol.
Play the role.
Yeah.
Play the part.
And I didn't, in all honesty, this was not a person that I was not in love with. It was just a person who all told, that we were not romantically compatible.
But they fit the bill at the time. They fit
Yeah, yeah. And so, we did okay for about 12 years. And, but I did not go back into sorority life after I got divorced. Some of it was I couldn't afford it. I was bankrupt after I got divorced. Divorce lawyers cost a whole lot of freaking money if you got someone who's not behaving. Anyway, and by behaving, I mean just being civil.
Was he a member of a Divine Nine?
Yeah, he's a Kappa.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
big
a Kappa.
Big shout out to the news.
Yeah. He's a Kappa, and actually, that's not related to the interview, but my family was, I think, very instrumental in him being able to make those connections. So, at first I was a little salty about that, the way, after the divorce. But it's going to be what it's going to be. Everybody's okay. Everybody's okay now. So, that being the case, so I believe that, and this is the part where I'm saying it's not personal experience, it's observation. I believe that most of the D9 organizations have sex, not sex, but groups within the group where they spend time with each other if they're gay and lesbian, and I believe that trans folks are having a different experience than gay and lesbian folks are having, whether it's in the LGBT community overall or within these Black Greek organizations, which is that coming in the door, they're going to have a different level of scrutiny.
Absolutely.
Right? I can't speak to it, but I know it to be true.
Absolutely.
That's kind of something you can pretty well understand. But as for the men, I believe that they know the other ones are there. But they show up together. They may dress up, do their whatever community service they're doing or whatever activity they're involved with. But when it comes to how they actually socialize, I think that they socialize separately.
Well, you know what? That's actually a good segue into my next question. I think, you kind of already created a bridge to this next question.
Yes.
And so, from your observations and your impressions, do you think, or why do you think it's considered taboo to be LGBTQI plus, to be gay or lesbian in, a Black Greek organization? Why or why not?
I'm going to go back to something I said initially, which is that families, and we think of ourselves as families, whether they are chosen families, which is our organizations, for our frats and sororities, or families of origin, families want you to have the best, generally speaking. You want to think your family wants you to have the best shot at being successful, at being loved, cared about, and embraced in society. There is a paranoia based on some real bigotry among our brothers and sisters that if we are that authentic about who we are in terms of our sexuality, that it's going to result in something bad, negative, and dangerous. Sometimes they are the bad, negative, and dangerous, and they don't even know it. Sometimes everybody outside of the family is fine, and we're dealing with you. You're the problem. You're the bad, dangerous, and negative. You're the one who is unable to separate your own religious dogma from who I am as a person. You're the one who assumes that I must believe what you believe, or that what you read is saying something that it's not even saying, but that's a whole other conversation. Shout out to rest in peace Jimmy Carter. Go read what Jimmy Carter says about gay folks in the Bible. Just saying, if you need something to do. But often we are cornered into this religious rhetoric that says anything I don't understand, well, let me take that back, that says this is a relationship you may not have because God won't love you and hell's waiting. Period. That's just rah, rah, rah. We don't have to look it up. We don't have to know it. We don't have to try to understand it. We just repeat what great grandma said or whoever said that. And we, much like any other type of discrimination, bigotry is often fueled by fear and ignorance, right? So that's where we're getting some of that. And, when you pair that up with any kind of biblical anything or any type of religious text, people just take it for, so and so said it, my pastor said it, my grandma said it, my granddaddy said it. It must be true. We are often either too busy or just too uninclined to do our own research or just have our own minds around that. So safety, bigotry being passed around based on misinformation. Again, read Jimmy Carter. I think he's just really a good example of how you can just find out things so quickly. The other part of your question was specifically in the organizations, there's a lot of upper middle class, we want you to look and be shiny and without anything that might be considered a flaw.
Okay. No blemish.
Right.
No defect.
Yeah. Right.
Got to be a certain. You got to be of a certain
caliber, and that's sort of like that's how you got in. That's why we let you in. So you're supposed to be the cream of the crop, and your character should be unassailable. Well, you might be in here assailing my character, ma'am. That's why it's not unassailable. It's you. I keep going back to that because sometimes we discriminate against our own loved ones, but we blame society. Sometimes it's just you. Sometimes it's just you not doing a better job as a parent, a brother, a sister, a father, a grandparent. Niece.
More internal.
Yeah.
It starts internal.
Or even if it came from somewhere else, you can do something different. You don't have to follow that way of thinking. I have a bestie who used to be she's a recovered, what's his name? Cash. What's that guy's name? Creflo Dollar.
Creflo.
Yeah, she's a recovered Creflo Dollar follower. And it's really cool because when people get themselves out from under that oppressed thinking, they can be really good advocates for you. And so when people say it's not possible and I've always believed this and, this is what everybody believes, you can do the work and you can get yourself out from under it. We see that in the news with people with transgender kids who are out there fighting for their right to have medical access. We see that within the group that I'm in right now, the chapter that I'm in. I joined a few years ago, and they have these little, sort of like little coalitions within the chapter. You can go start a squad for people who like movies. I took that opportunity to start something called the Rainbow Plus Squad. Of course, this was not something they had ever expected or heard of or intended for the squad system to be used in this way. So when I introduced it, and let me tell you, let me shout you out that I think I did it after you first asked me to interview. And I was like, okay, maybe that's a sign. I don't have anything to tell him, but I'll do this and see what happens. Because I didn't really go in with that intention, right? So anyway, I started and introduced the Rainbow Plus Squad. I had to stand up in the meeting and say what it was. And I said it's basically for family members because I didn't just want to be like, if I had said it's for lesbians, no one would have joined, right? So I said, I don't think so. Like, I just don't have the trust that people would have had that courage, right? And we're on that, what's that little thing where you do chats? I can never remember the name of this. Anyway, we have this chat group.
ChatGPT?
No, it's like a X and I'll show it to you on my phone.
Me?
It's Group Me. We're on Group Me, right? So I made a Group Me page for Rainbow, the Rainbow Plus Squad. But how I introduced it is that it is for family members of lesbian, gay, transgender, bisexual, and queer folks who are seeking a more a broader and more forward-thinking way of interacting with their relatives, and loved ones. So the idea is, the plus is, you might have a gay son, you might have a trans son, you might have a lesbian sister, have been married to someone, and that person, now that you're divorced, is dating someone of the same gender or sex, and this is a way for you to improve your ability to navigate that change. They didn't know what to do with that, because what are you going to do with that? Say no? Say, I don't want to get along better with my gay son. No one's going to come out and say that, even if it's true. So I've had exactly 3 people to join the Rainbow Plus Squad, which is fine. Both are, so one has a gay son. The other didn't quite tell me why she joined. I think she was just being nice to me. Like, I don't think it's because she likes me or she's lesbian. I think she was just like, I can do this because, it could be I respect Cole's courage to just introduce that, right? And then the other lady was a flight attendant. She is almost 80, right? She was flight attendant, and she said, I was a flight attendant during the 80s. All my buds were gay men, and I lost a lot of gay men, in the AIDS crisis. And so I've always been in community with LGBTQ folks. She's married to a man, she's straight, and she's just very sweet, right? So let me go quickly to yesterday. I was at sorority meeting yesterday, and we have to do every year just sort of a reinforcing of, do you understand the behavior standards, high ethical standards, da 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 da. So I stood up as we were signing our yearly thing, and I said, do we understand that how we measure our own ethics is not necessarily going to be an indication of how we measure someone else's ethics? Similar to how we have or should have and demonstrate religious freedom in the chapter and in the sorority. Baby, when I tell you, you could hear a pin drop. There was the longest pause, and I just, once I was on my feet, I was on my feet. It was because they were kind of like, what do you want us to do with that? Because they knew exactly what I was talking about. But I also feel like in that chapter and in all of the AKA chapters I've been a part of, the assumption is that everyone grew up or embraces the Christian faith. Whether I do or do not is not anyone's business. I mean, I could tell you if you ask me, but for the purposes of me going to sorority meeting, it's almost like assuming that America was based on Christianity. It wasn't created based on Christianity, and neither was directly the sorority. But everybody, the assumption is Jesus is everybody's savior, right? In the room, and if you're not, I think you just shouldn't say anything. So I think that's more the issue of where sororities and fraternities need to show some inclusion. Because since we know that the hammer that we've been beat with is the Bible, then if what you demonstrate in these organizations is, hey, if you're Muslim, Buddhist, not a religious person, Christian, whatever kind of Christian, whatever your religious belief system is or faith, or whether you have one or you don't, that is not why we're gathered here. And I think when you send that message, so it's not to say that people can't get on a mic and express their faith, but I think we need to continue to send a message that we're not holding people to the belief that you may not have another belief system or faith tradition. Because when you do that, it's just fruit from the poison tree. This is not the best metaphor, but if your poison is, I've been told, if God loves me or I love God, or that Jesus Christ is not someone who would feel comfortable with Sora so-and-so being lesbian or me being lesbian. If you've been told that lie, then you understand what I'm trying to say. It's just like another piece, another piece, another piece. So when we say Jesus, those of us who've been taught that, we get to go, well, we'll tolerate Cole for, we don't really know why we're tolerating Cole. But we can't really openly show any connection with Cole. So yes, I feel that, but at the same time, I feel like a lot of the sisters are fine. They just come and hug me and do the thing. They all, funny, I think it's because my name is simple. Like, everybody knows my name. Have y'all been gossiping about me? Why y'all don't know my name? Why all of y'all know my name? Every single one. But that is what I think a large part of this is respectability politics. And I get to decide if you're respectable and if you're ethical, and if you're a person who wears short dresses, we got those. If you are a person who hangs out with sex workers, if you do whatever you do that's not churchy, then we have the right to question your ethics. So I think that's where where that needs to be addressed. And I suspect it's very similar in D9 organizations. So if, for example, you're talking about Qs, I know someone who, and this is really third hand, she said her husband said there are no gay Qs. The hell?
Oh, definitely there's some gay.
What the hell? There's some gay everybody, silly. Like, so to me, the fact that you even need to say that, either you're gay, or this is my impression. Either you are a man who sleeps with men, you're gay, or you just are stupid. I mean, ignorant. You're just ignorant. Or some kind of denial. I don't know. Like, I don't know what would make somebody say that in 2022.
Definitely denial or ignorant that was kind of dumb.
Yeah. So that's what I have. That's I don't go rainbowed out to my sorority meetings, but I mean I would. If we weren't supposed to be wearing other colors, I wouldn't. I don't have any. How I walk in, because I show up as a mask of center woman anyway. When I walk in, they kind of are like, yeah, we kind of know who that is, right? And I make no secret of it. But again, I'm not in there going gay this, gay that, lesbian, blah, 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 blah. If I had a girlfriend in the sorority, I will hold her hand and we would sit together and we would be lovely together in meetings. And if they didn't like that, then they would say that, and then we would still do it. Because, I don't want to sue my sisters, but I would if I needed to. Sometimes you got to love people enough to make them do the right thing. And I'd like to end on that note. You got other questions? What other questions you have?
I got a couple more.
Okay.
But
I mean, that's my drop the mic moment.
You still drop the mic.
Yeah, there's sometimes you have to make your loved ones do the right thing, or put them in a position that they feel more obliged to do the right thing.
Okay.
And that's what I got. What you got? What you got, sir?
Okay. Well, check this out. Okay. Great question. Would you, from your standpoint, do you have any advice or encouragement for someone who desires to join, one of the Divine organization, but also be concerned about the stigma of being LGBTQI plus and Divine 9?
Yeah, you gotta help you're on the part of the end of this that is breaking the stigma. So when you fill out any paperwork, and that's what I did when they asked me, what do you like? What do you enjoy? I just put it right on the paperwork. It was like right there, queer, enjoy supporting the social justice of queer and LGBTQ folks. Put it right there. If people act funny, then you might need to choose another chapter. or find you a sponsor who's a lesbian or bisexual person who's queer who is willing to advocate for you and mentor you in the process. Yeah, I wouldn't say turn away. Now, and there are lesbian sororities now. I can't name them. I've actually been invited to be a member of one. I just didn't want to go through anybody else's pledge process or initiation process, but that's also an option. Because at the end of the day, we're out here serving communities and trying to create brotherhood, sisterhood, peoplehood, and love our communities as best we can, and we need to model that. So whatever you can associate yourself with that is doing that work, it doesn't have to be a D9. Be nice, but it doesn't have to be. If it's not a good fit, if you feel some kind of consistent pushback. And it's also interesting being in the room when there are joint events where there are men and women, and just kind of you're there and your gaydar is going off with the guys, and you're like, yeah, let me go get in our little corner. And so sometimes you'll have that experience as well, where you're at, there's 6 different organizations there, and you just see your people. And with the men, is not because they're necessarily effeminate. It's just how they're relating, or how they're not relating, how they're with themselves. I don't know. It could be that I'm better at that than. I'll drop that one, because that's the road that leads to stereotyping. Like, I can pick out a gay person. And I mean, maybe gay folks are better at it, but straight folks feel like they're really good at it too. And sometimes it's like, yeah, no, so and so really just is neat. It's just neat. It's just neat. Let him be neat and live his life. So that's what I got. That's what I have for that. You're in a fraternity, right? Oh yeah. Everywhere I go, I represent the Nupes of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated all day. Where'd you pledge?
Memphis alumni, spring 2002.
Okay, all right. I did say Bennett College, Zeta Xi, 1978, right? Isn't that crazy? That's when you're supposed to say, "Wow, you look so young for your age."
Yes.
Wow, you look so young.
You do.
Thank you. Thank you.
You do.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. Okay. Cole Thomas, educator, author, black mother, AKA all day.
Person with a flashing gay ass.
It got lights.
I had to do that. A person with a flashing mask. Yeah, I had to make sure that,
I just noticed that. I was like...
Yeah, I had to make sure I promoted the flashy gay stereotype on the show, because why not? Okay, there, I'm done being flashy.
It's all good, but before we cut out, before we head out, anything you want to promote, social media, businesses, projects, anything you want to throw out there before we wrap up this great interview?
Yes, real quick, I got 2.
And the sun is coming out.
Woo, and it's cold outside, though. It's really cold. So I have 2 projects. One is Agenda Benda Justice Incorporated. And Agenda Benda is a 501c3. Our primary focus is to ensure that queer BIPOC women are able to get into to see a gynecologist if they cannot afford it. They don't have work insurance, or they don't have Obamacare, or they can't get Medicaid, right? Often masculine of center lesbians are harder to get in for those appointments than other folks. So we want to make sure that the word gets out, that we will pay for that appointment. There's a doctor at Atlanta Gynecology and OB who is my personal gynecologist. We have been together, not together, but together as patient and doctor for 15 years. And so she is very culturally sound in working with trans folks with vaginas, and also with lesbians who may be struggling to pay for their appointments. Or even if you have insurance or you have the ability to pay, she's a good contact where you can go in and feel safe with the practice. The other thing that we do is we produce work online and also hard copy work around safe passage, where you go out in the streets, first of all as a woman, because for some reason people feel like they can mind women's women's business just because they're walking by being women. But also if you have anything additional that people are looking at and they want to put their words on it, there's a problem with that still. So we create information for like effeminate men, for women who are just struggling with catcalls, and just people who are having trouble navigating that. I have a guy right now who's on a new member of our board who is working on a police traffic stop safety little booklet. We're happy he's doing that. So other business is Cool Breeze Media, and we are the producers of the series Radically Contented 7 Common Practices for Simplifying the Moment. And you can learn more about that on Facebook. Just look it up just like that. Radically Contented 7 CPs.
I heard that. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
You got me?
I can dig it. I can dig it.
All right.
Always down. So, Cole Thomas, thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad you brought this whole subject up. Like I said, you motivated me to be a little more active in the chapter to see what shook. What was gonna shake? So we're gonna see.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. Well, again, thank you again, Cole Thomas. I'm with it. Always a pleasure to do this. Again, Black mother, author, educator. I'm with it all. Thank you so much. Everybody out there, if you can, make sure you go, if you're on Facebook, make sure you go to your search bar, type in Ringside, come find our group, request to join it. Either myself or one of the other admins will admit you.
All right.
And as always, you know how we do it, stepping in the name of love. This is Trey Amazing, Ringside's Corner Confessions. Make sure you hit that like button, you subscribe, drop some comments, and we're going to do this thing again. But as always, Ringside, and we out.
All right.
Holla.
Thank you.